So you've been hearing about it. It's been a conversation piece among the people that we've been receiving an uptick in asylum claims, refugees coming into Canada. And we've seen the cut down in immigration that this government has discussed they've been trying to do, and cutting down on the student visas. But the asylum claimants are starting to increase. We're seeing here, immigration minister offers provinces incentive to accept more asylum seekers. Like, please, we beg you, we need help on this. Please, we need to get this going. Marc Miller is offering an incentive to provinces and territories to accept asylum seekers, saying he may allow them to select more economic migrants if they agree to help shoulder the burden. As part of a wider drive to decrease the number of immigrants Canada accepts, this week, Ottawa informed most provinces and territories that they must cut in half the number of people they bring in under provincial nominee programs this year. Each province receives an allotment from Ottawa for the number of nominees they can accept, although not all of them fill it. So this program is dedicated to focusing on helping provinces have targeted immigration to building up specific sectors that are going on. And right now, Marc Miller says, you can't have access to that unless you accept more asylum seekers. To discuss this with us, we have Reg here with us. How you doing?
Doing good, but I have to say this is par for the course for this government. It's take away power from the provinces, consolidate within the powers at Ottawa, and then also frame something that is clearly a stick as a carrot. Trying to say that this policy that is basically allowing provinces to fill their needs with immigrants who are best matched for their province based off of their intention to start a business or their intention to work in a needed sector like healthcare or mining or agriculture or any tech sector that requires a very skilled individual. And instead, we're going to replace that with forced asylum seekers. This is ridiculous. And I look at this as just more movement by Ottawa to just say screw you to the provinces and trying to basically impose their will on people who don't want this.
Yeah, that is the issue that we are currently seeing. And we were talking about before the show, and we both said it separately, then we talked about it to each other, where when we read this, it really felt like, this provincial nominee program is how our immigration system used to work, how it is operating properly. And now it's being used, as you said, stick and carrot, or in this case, a bargaining chip in order to accept more asylum seekers, especially as what we've seen take place in the United States over the past week or so. We know more asylum seekers are going to be coming up here. They don't have data of that happening just yet, but they're anticipating it happening as they're patrolling more of the border they say they're doing. So we will see what happens here. And when we have these asylum seekers coming in, they're not necessarily claiming asylum from the United States. However, they've come from other countries to the U.S., and now the U.S. is not going to have them. So now the thought process is they're going to get pushed into Canada. So technically claiming asylum from a place like Mexico, someplace in South America, and Canada is going to accept them and look to disperse them. And in some cases, if they are violent criminals, they've been asking provincial jails to house these people. Yeah,
so that's the whole wild part of this, right? Is that immigration, when working well, it's about taking the best of the world and welcoming them into Canadian society, integrating them into our communities, into our jobs, into the way that we live our Canadian lives. The problem is that with these asylum seekers, like you said, not all of them are nice people. Not all of them are people who are leaving their countries for good reasons. Some of them may have committed atrocities in their countries, and now they're leaving claiming that their country wants them dead, which might actually be the case.
True.
So part of this is just where are these folks going to go? And so recently, as in the past 2 years, provinces were saying, no, we don't want to fill our jails with asylum seekers that are violent anymore. We don't want to do that. And so the federal government is now coming back and saying, we can't mandate you to take in these violent criminals and put them in your jails and then have to pay for the jails and the upkeep and all the extra security and the guards and everything else that comes along with jailing people. So please do it, with a little wink, and we'll sign a check for you. We realize this is going to be a burden. Here's this check that we're gonna write to you, the provinces, for housing these violent people in your jails. And it's just like, why are we even considering this? Why is this not something that we're looking at this and going, don't put them in the jail, put them on a plane back to wherever the heck they came from? Like, I just don't get it. What is our problem with deporting people?
Yeah, it's a naughty word. You know, that's why it was interesting when the Liberal representative, who hasn't been in politics since the mid-aughts, jumped into the fold saying, yeah, if you have committed atrocities and you crossed into the country illegally, we should deport you. Which was like, we haven't even heard that rhetoric from the Conservative Party. And I was like, she said the word deport in Canada. Oh man, this is getting wild. You know?
But you know what? She's allowed to say it because she's a person of color. So if a white person, you and I, are saying the word deport, we're immediately racist and bigoted and hate anybody who's not white, which is ludicrous. But, you know, she has the ability to say these kinds of things, and then other people will look at it and go, well, maybe, you know, start to mull it over a little bit. And it's like, yes. And if you listen to any of the folks on social media that are talking about immigration, specifically folks from racialized communities, they're going, do not bring these people here. You're making us all look bad. It's hard on the communities. It's hard on us. We also fought for our right to be in Canada, and it degrades the value of our immigration process because you're just letting in these individuals. So I just find it wild, honestly.
It reminds me of when I was interviewing Kushal, and he went off on that tirade in that interview. And he said, I don't get Canadians. You guys can't say anything about immigration until brown guy says it. Brown guy says immigration sucks. Now immigration sucks. And I was like, that's exactly how it works here. If you are not a visible minority, you don't get to have a say on these things. You talk too much. You know, you bring harm. So that is what has kind of led us to this point of a social fabric being torn apart, is because we are being gaslit saying, yeah, why are we importing literal criminals? We want immigrants here. We want them to help us. We want us to grow a community and grow our country together. We don't want criminals coming here. Can we ask them to leave? Oh, dude, it's a touchy topic. Don't want to go there right now. And so this goes back into the point of these asylum seekers, and now using our once great immigration process as a tool to hold it over provinces' head in order to bring in more asylum seekers into the provinces.
Yeah, and it's just wild because you have to think, like, when did it become a state in Canada when we said, you know what, criminals, it's okay, you know, you can do what you want here because our legal system is in tatters, basically. Our immigration system is in tatters. So we're just going to become the hotbed for criminal activity. And then everybody wonders why Trump has been so adamant on the border. Like, it's not a surprise to anybody who's looking at this going, if Trump is spending billions of dollars deporting and removing and clearing out illegals from the United States, and these are not just your law-abiding citizen that's just trying to make it there. These are people who have committed rapes and murders and arson and thefts, and they're like, we're done with this. Get out of our country. And so now they're leaving, and Canada's just like, that's fine. I guess we'll keep ours here, and we'll take yours too. And so if we don't shore up our border, they're just going to flood right back in after they've gone to Canada for a month or two, had their winter vacation, and come back to the States. And Trump knows this. So he's obviously been pounding the border issue and not seeing any movement on it. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, they got a few helicopters. They got some drones that won't work over the States side of the border. But, you know, as far as it goes, when you actually read one of the articles that was put out by the Globe, they basically said that there's, I think it was 400 or 500 different border security folks that are working around the clock, just chasing after people who've come into Canada on a legal visa but have overstayed their visa. And they said, we have no capacity to deal with people who've come in without a visa, because that would require us investigating, finding these people, tracking them down, and basically becoming ICE, but the Canadian version. So I don't see how we're going to accomplish that. Right.
And it goes back to the conversation that a lot of people have been having, where the border is just a smokescreen for Trump. He just wants Alberta's oil. And in some cases that could be true. But now what we're seeing in terms of the result of his executive orders down in the States, your point is very valid here, where it's like, no, the reason why this border issue is a significant problem is he wants to make sure that the people that they remove from their country don't come back through Canada in a few months' time. And so that's why I'm like, I don't think it's just a smokescreen. I think he legitimately feels strong about the border issue. And we here in Canada just are a bunch of chuckleheads and don't take it seriously and make it about something else. So I do think the tariffs are a significant issue. And the conversation becomes, well, we need to tariff them back. And it's like, okay, we'll get past that conversation. But like, are we doing our best right now to address the border? And we are handcuffed right now because Parliament's prorogued. So we can't push or pass any new policies to address the border. So we are using our budget from last year to make sure we address it now.
Yeah, and one of the things I'll say too, though, isn't it funny how much has been moving while Parliament has been still? It makes me wonder how effective or how useful our Canadian Parliament really is if we're able to somehow find $1 billion to, or was it $1.6 billion to go towards
1.2.
border? 1.2, there you go. Over $1 billion. Another thing, we apparently just cracked down on 44 different fentanyl labs. One in BC that was massive, supplying fentanyl to folks across the border. And that's come into play because of all these Trump tariffs that are being loomed over our heads. So if the RCMP is able to crack down on all these fentanyl production sites across Canada, like it wasn't just in one place, it was across the country. And we're able to do all that while Parliament is prorogued, while the Liberal Party's figuring out its leadership and trying to install their leader. Like, what is the purpose of this friggin' government? Like, I keep screaming that we need to get rid of the Senate. Now I'm like, what is the point of our whole friggin' system? Obviously, I know there's a point, but like, you see what I'm saying? Like, if you can move these big pieces in that amount of time with the cooperation of the provinces, we really need to rethink our political system, because if these things can happen, then what the hell are we paying them for?
Yeah. And on that note, we are, I believe, officially, it's coming, I don't say officially, but it's becoming more clear. The battle that we're seeing in Canada between World Economic Forum members and those who are Canada first. And it's very interesting to see it now happen in the Liberal Party leadership race. It's clear that they are trying to railroad anyone who doesn't agree with the Carney side, the Freeland side of things. And I'm like, whoa, this is fun. So that's why I wanted to kind of as a bonus segment. What are your thoughts on the Chandra Arya stuff?
Well, I mean, you captured it all in the other video, because we had talked about this before. But yeah, I knew he wasn't going to get be allowed to even run. Like I knew that they wouldn't even allow him on the ticket, and so that's why I'm surprised that they're going to let this new up and coming candidate,
Ruby Dollar.
Yeah, Ruby. I'm like, are they actually going to let her run? I don't know. I mean, the date came and passed, so it seems likely, but I would not be surprised if they found another reason to discredit her or to remove her and then keep the money. So that's just how I look at it. But we all know that they're going to install Carney. No matter what people vote in this country, maybe they'll pull a BC and people will be allowed to take the ballots home, and then some of them will get burned for Freeland. And then you see all the former cabinet ministers lining up to support him. I'm like, wow, if that isn't the biggest display of brown nosing I've ever seen. Pick me for your cabinet, pick me. So I'll support you, I'll endorse you. So yeah, I think the Chandra Arya thing, exactly what you said. I totally called that one from the beginning, that there was no way that he was going to be able to run. But it is interesting, though, what you say about the WEF piece, because I know that we've covered it on the show before about Freeland scrubbing her WEF connections prior to all this leadership race. And so what I think the Conservatives really need to do is they really need to highlight the issues that have been in place with WEF-connected countries, because there's Australia, there's Great Britain, there's others in the European Union, like Germany, New Zealand. Like, all these countries are experiencing very, very similar problems that we are. And one of the big arguments from the left is like, see, everybody's going through the same problem, so obviously it's not us. It's like, what is the common denominator against with those countries? We don't see that happening in Poland.
Right.
Poland doesn't have a strong presence in the WEF. And so when you look at the strong presence in the WEF, and you map that to the countries who are all experiencing these ridiculous problems that are the same, well, then the common denominators come out.
Yeah.
They flooded their currencies with printed money. They engaged in net zero programs. And like, to be fair, I am anti-pollution, but I'm not anti-oil. We still need the stuff.
Yeah.
So it's just like some of these programs are so black and white that they leave no room for actual change. And it's so frustrating to see. But I do love the divide in that Liberal Party. And I'm hoping that enough of them actually come to their senses and go, maybe I should be thinking about the best interests of the country here, not about saving my seat.
Yeah. And it has been odd, and I'll make this at the last point, that Freeland is now taking a populist stance.
Yes.
Going back to the grassroots, clearly the establishment has chosen Mark Carney. So we are going to be trusting Liberal voters to go with me because we are going to be fighting against the establishment.
I know. They must be hating her right now. Like, honestly, they must just want to like burn her at the stake and call her a witch because like she has set that party on fire. Like, for as much as I don't like her, I love that she's done that. Like, what a wiener. That's what she is.
Yeah. Especially Rosemary Barton saying, well, she didn't have any proof for any of the claims that she made in this interview.
Yeah.
And just like, yeah, but we all know, in the back of our minds, we know what she's referring to. But again, as you said, the fact that she's just lighting it up as she goes. She's like, yeah, you guys hated me. Everyone turned on me. Francois Philippe Champagne, who was supposed to endorse me, went and endorsed Trump. Carney. Well, screw all of you. All I got is Mark Holland. I'm going with the Liberal voters, baby. Let's go. So that's where we're at. Any last thoughts?
No, I'm just stay vigilant. Keep watching this Gong Show. We'll be on air tomorrow to actually see what goes on with foreign interference documents that are supposed to be released. I'll be surprised if they release everything. I know that they won't. It would be fun if they did, but I know that they won't. But we'll be here to discuss the things that they do release and how that pertains to us.
Absolutely. And last but not least, Wednesday is a special day. We're going to be going live here, 7:30 Eastern Time, to do an Ask Me Anything AMA with the two homies. Not political related, just we've garnered a lot of following over the past month or so we're going to be kind of just doing a get to know us, talk about anything. We can talk about politics, we'll be talking about sports, talking about a wide variety of things. So whatever you want, jump in with us, ask us questions, we'll be answering and having a grand old time. That'll be Wednesday, 7:30 Eastern PM. We'll be here live with you. Have yourselves a good one. We're out.